Good evening, Internet. Welcome to set 5 of Oz versus KTF. 1 moment and 0. Now, for those of you who haven't watched the previous matches, Oz got off to a wonderful start with their boy Lomo, but just unfortunately, after those 2 initial wins for Oz, KTF responded with Flash, sending him out on the field, and since then, he has just been absolutely stomping. And the thing is, usually due to the Winners League format, as I've said in my previous videos, sometimes, you know, the player will start to get a little bit low on the tank, but Flash is just a machine, you know, he's a monster, he is a beast, so it's just really, you know, not looking good for him. And although he does have 1 match which he really excels in, it's not like, you know, he's one of those players who, obviously he has his strengths and weaknesses, but he's just not one of those players that really has that much of, you know, a gaping hole in their defense. Now, just to make mirror matches even more confusing, Internet, yes, that's right, it has switched round. So Flash is no longer the red Terran, now Flash is the blue Terran, and this time Oz have tried HiyA, who, once again, if you look on paper, isn't really one of the best players. I know he's still relatively fresh, or maybe fresh isn't quite the right word, Internet, but he's less experienced, I suppose. He just gets put forward a lot less. And so, you know, as I said, you can say, oh, why do they just keep feeding Flash Terrans? It's his best matchup. Well, you know, what are they going to feed him? He's an all-rounder, you know. He's not one of the best all-rounders of all time, but HiyA as well has a real gap in his versus Terran play. Although he's had more versus Terran matches, his versus Terran is actually under 50%, although his other percentiles, which are in the 60s, this is for HiyA, are only derived from a very few games, so it really is hard to say. But nevertheless, HiyA has put in some admirable performances throughout his pro gaming career, so I do think it's possible. Look at that, Flash doesn't even need to touch things, he can just adjust his sleeve, he can control it with his mind. So yeah, let's hopefully see. I mean, HiyA could actually have gone for the 14cc as they are at cross position. Then again, the map Andromeda isn't that huge, so even at the cross position, I mean, although it's a 4-position map, there are larger 4-position maps, and just because of the way the terrain's put out, I suppose it is right from HiyA, but you know, you've got to be taking a risk. And even then, you could see that little sigh from HiyA, you know, I mean, and that's really unfortunate. I really hope that he hasn't just sort of resigned himself to defeat already. I really hope that he is going into this rather than just thinking, you know, oh, another day at the office, gonna fight Flash, gonna get completely ripped to shreds. I hope he is actually thinking, well, you know, I could really do this if I, you know, play right and get something clever on the go. So, slightly lowered down factory there, that's a bit odd. An early starport from Flash, actually, so doing his versus Terran build that we've seen him do a lot recently, you know, he very often will go for this early starport into drops. We saw him in my duel with Parks do this, and we've seen him done this quite a few times throughout this set, so I think it would be wise for HiyA to be expecting this actually. And oh, I don't know, I mean, we do have the early expansion for HiyA, but nevertheless, you know, I just think that I'd like to see him go quick Goliaths maybe. Actually, I mean, I know I got some stick for this because I referred to the Flash build as being the early guy upgrade for generic anti-air. Yes, I know the Flash build is for carriers, but nevertheless it still works against anti-air. I know it's I know it was forged with the intention of being an anti-carrier build, but nevertheless you can still use it against races other than the Protoss. The Barracks high five! I love you, Mr. Smiley. High five! Is that how the barracks sound? I suppose my barracks would be high five. That was trying to be a bit Hugh Laurie there, as in Brian Laurie, Hugh Laurie, not Winnie's house. But no, it's Cloak Wraith from Brash. that bunker of HiyA's that barracks, I do apologise, of HiyA. Oh, and just going in the complete wrong direction. Flash being very clever with his marine micro there, warding the barracks away from exactly where it needs to be to see that the cloaked wraiths are coming. So terrible, terrible, terrible from HiyA there. Well, not terrible, just really unfortunate. One of the wraiths is out actually, so at least he knows that there is some air coming his way. Thankfully, he does have that armory up, but nevertheless, it's just not good. It looks like he's going to use the barracks. He has managed to destroy that doodad, so he will be able to reach round at an odd angle, but nevertheless, it's excuse me, internet, I do apologise. It's, you know, just really not looking that good for him there. Now the flashing is done, the cloak capability has been researched, and that wraith has been in the air for a little bit of time, so it's probably got a fair bit of energy in the bank, so it will be able to be stealth for a while. I haven't seen any missile turrets yet, I don't believe, in the base of HiyA. I'd really like to have seen him, as I mentioned, because, you know, I can only presume, internet, that he has been watching these previous matches, so that he will know what's going on. There is some Goliaths out on the field, so they will be able to chase away this Wraith force, and the Comsat station is in the works, so maybe this build won't be as advantageous as Flash would like. Lay down a little bit of pressure on that Wraith with the Marines there, but nevertheless not really a definitive counter. You know, he really needs to make this build not work for Flash. He needs to have a really quick counter, and ooh, looks as if we've got something a little bit tricksy in the works. I will get back to you later on that, internet. I could have just misseen what's going on. So Goliath's trying to just hunt down that one Wraith, but it's just able to micro too well. It's just too fast for the clumsy Goliaths, and now we have the Flash dropship out, so this could be over pretty quickly if he gets a good drop in, you know. I want to see some missile turrets from you, HiyA. Zoom of Doom, and I want to see, yes, there is the range upgrade. Beautiful, HiyA, that is exactly what you needed, but now there are vultures of Flash inside HiyA's base, and this is just painful to watch. Just SCVs going down. I think, no, he was actually, no, I thought he was attacking the Comsat station, but he is just going for the SCVs. Now more vultures coming in, attacking this mineral line, pulling them off the expansion, and at least the shell goes down. That is nice from HiyA, making the most of those Goliaths there. But on the other hand, what Flash might be thinking is, to be honest, as he doesn't appear to be producing any more wraiths, so I think what he probably might have done is he's essentially, by not really spending a lot, I don't know, I mean, Flash could be trying to bluff him. He could have tried to bluff him into going for this Goliath build, going for the Goliath range upgrade, and then just abandoning it. But I don't know if that's really, if that really actually pays off in terms of the math, because obviously he's paid for the stealth upgrade on the Wraith, so I don't know if he's going to try and do anything more than that. You know, I really would like to see Flash follow through with these Wraiths a bit more. It appears to have abandoned Wraith production. More Goliaths just completely sniping that Wraith. Didn't stand a chance against the range upgrade. Just no chance of microing. But now HiyA's forces are moving in towards Flash's already siege tanks. Gonna use the barracks as a spotter to be able to get in some pain. But thankfully there are those Goliaths there which will be able to take down the